who does this type of loan applications nowadays? Guys, it's all digital. What's up, guys? Welcome to another Biz Talk show. Today, we're going to be covering the PPP, continue our talks on the PPP application. And we got a lot of special guests here. There's a lot to cover because a lot of changes have occurred. We got SBDC Consultant Ryan Silvestre. We got the Statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey, President Carlos Medina. We got Luis De La Hoy's chairman, and we got the general counsel, Marco Gonzalez. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here. We're gonna get right into it because we got a lot to cover. And I have no idea what's going on in the PPP world. You guys are the experts. And so let's start with you, Ryan. All right. What has changed since the last show?
Since the last show, okay, so some modifications have changed. They're mainly on the adjustments of what documentation is required and when it's required. One of the most recent ones is loans that were underneath $150,000. The initial information was that no documentation for financial records was going to be needed. But at the advice, it should be ready. Most recently now, I'm getting advice from the SBA consultants directly that the documentation should be ready regardless if the bank asks for it or not. We need to be able to prove that the business was economically injured. You know, the way that we prove that is by showing comparative timeframes. You know, one quarter in 2020 to one same exact quarter in 2019 to show that there was a dip of 25% in sales. You know, we need to make sure that that documentation clearly reflects what they're claiming. Gotcha.
I'm gonna go to the Hispanic Chamber here. Carlos, Luis, you guys want to add to that, what you might know, or you want to,
jump in there? If you don't mind, I'll just do a quick intro. I know when we do these, a lot of folks already know you and me, but just want to do my 30-second plug for the Chamber.
Of course.
We're the voice of 120,000 Hispanic-owned businesses that call New Jersey home. And we constantly advocate that a company's board of directors, executive team, and vendor spend should reflect the state they work in. So we love diversity. We want to see more diversity, and we feel that should extend to governmental boards. During round one, we helped about 300 members apply for PPP, and we will be helping members in this round. So reach out to the Chamber and, just go to our website. It's a very modest investment to become a member, but it's a real good investment in your future. So we highly recommend that the value that we provide will add great benefit to your company.
Absolutely, 100% agree. Luis?
I just want to encourage people to apply because this round will be focused on minority-owned businesses, especially those that didn't apply in the first round for two things. One, because they at that time they believed that was a loan and is actually a grant. And the second portion is that many businesses didn't think that they will need it, and they realize when they arrive to December or now in January that they may need that money. It's better for them to apply and use it. And another thing is, now that they are focused on minority or small business owners and businesses that are located on low and moderate income neighborhoods, it's really important for them to answer the question. The question is not mandatory about ethnicity and about like if you are a veteran, if you are a woman, if you belong to the LGBTQ+, or if you are a Hispanic business owner. You don't need to be certified in order for you to answer that question. Could be self-reported, but it's really important because as we see in the state, when business owners identify as minorities, the agencies pay more attention and they do an effort to focus on those like cities and towns where we have a lot of business owners. I also want to remind people that immigrants, we are 30% of the population here in the state of New Jersey, but we own almost 50% of the main street businesses. And that's really important because many of those businesses are restaurants, and restaurants will have the opportunity to get 3.5, not 2.5 like most of the businesses. They will receive 3.5 months of payroll. I think that those are the recommendations. I also will encourage people to develop a relationship with a financial institution or with a banker that they can call and that can provide updates on the status of the process. Because what we experienced last year was that many people apply using online lenders, but they didn't receive any answer until the process was completed. And that drive people crazy because they was expecting to get updates. They didn't know if the applications are accurate. That's why I think that is important to have that personal connection that make a difference.
Absolutely. I want to add on to what you guys, what your chamber does. It's I look at you guys as family as well. You guys, we collaborated on chamber talks from 2020. And we're, USPAACC, we're a smaller, way smaller chamber than you guys. And you guys have a huge support team, and I'm so glad that you guys are here to help, to help with the businesses and everything else. I know, Luis, you were here. We were here during the Winter Gala 2020, and I jokingly made about grants and everything, and you came hard with helping and sending out all this information, hooking us with the people that we need to speak to. So hats off to you guys, and I definitely encourage that. Hey, there's two chambers. We're the U.S. Pan-Asian American Chamber of Commerce and the Hispanic. Join both. Join us both. We're all supporting one another. We're all family together, and it is about the business. It's about the small business. It's about just helping us, all of us grow. So with that, let's get going with the PPP stuff. You want to add anything, Ryan?
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit of clarity to something that Luis said. And there is an effort to focus and make sure that those that were underserved the last time are not underserved this time around. But it's a set aside. So $25 billion has been set aside to help out those businesses that have fewer than 10 employees or have a loan request of less than $250,000 and are identified in a community that's considered low income according to census. So that way the businesses that really need it this time around do have access to it. So that's going to be set aside just for them.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So Marco, I guess let's start with you. You probably have to besides you and Ryan, probably have the most knowledge here. I'm gonna be a student here. For those who don't know, what exactly is the PPP second draw program? I mean, let's start with the basics here.
Well, the second draw program is what the SBA is calling it and what the statute refers to it. And it's essentially along the same lines as the first round of PPP loans. And so basically the loan terms, conditions are going to be the same. When you get the application and you see the paperwork, the actual loan agreement, they're going to be very similar to the first round of the PPP loan, but there are some distinctions. So the first is that for the first round, there was some criticism because you had to use most of the loan proceeds to pay payroll and only a small percentage for other covered expenses. And those covered expenses were like for mortgage interest and things of that nature. So the second round expands the type of expenses that you can use loan proceeds for. And that I think is going to make a big difference for borrowers. So what type of expenses are those? So for example, insurance costs. So the employer, any contributions that the employer makes for dental, health, life insurance, those are going to be covered expenses now, including other specific categories of expenses that I think is going to benefit the borrowers. So operational expenses, so everything from software, business software, cloud services, facilities, operations, product or service delivery, processing, even payment. If you have a vendor that you use for payment, payroll payment, service deliveries, processing, tracking of payroll expenses, human resources, sales and billing functions, or accounting and tracking of supplies, inventories, goods, and the like. Those expenses will now be covered. Also, what is unique to and what's included is you could also use proceeds to cover property damage expenses that relate to property damage as a result of vandalism or looting from public disturbances that took place in 2020, but that are not otherwise covered by insurance. Also, you can use PPP round 2 proceeds to cover any essential expenses that are essential to the operations, like supplier cost expenses as well. And finally, the other category of expenses that you could use second drawer PPP funds for are for worker protection. So as you know, a lot of small businesses, a lot of our members, a lot of your members had to incur costs to comply with state, federal, and local regulations to abide by the COVID-19 restrictions. Some people had to get these tents, these restaurants, or if you had operations like screens for droplets and things of that nature. So now drive-through facilities, indoor, outdoor air pressure and filtration and ventilation systems, you had to spend money on that. That's now a covered expense. Physical barriers, sneeze guards, also healthcare screening capabilities. So if you had to hire a nurse to come and screen your employees as they came in, that will be a covered expense. And then also look out for other assets that may have been incurred, other costs rather, as determined by the SBA. And so that provides for a wider range of covered costs that can be used as part of the proceeds. And again, if you stick with these expenses and payroll under the payroll formula, like the first round of PPP loan, then they will be forgivable, just like the first round of the PPP loans.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So let's talk about, I think we went over that before, but Ryan, let's talk about qualifications.
Okay.
I think maybe we kind of touched on it, but you know, it's is it for everyone? Is it for startups? How about the startups in from 2020? I have a lot of business friends that just started new companies, and they wondered if they allowed for PPP because they started paying rent, and then government shut them down again. And you know, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. So the eligibility goes into a couple of different areas. There are some businesses that has been expanded upon that were covered before. The nonprofit now includes 501c6s, which it did not include before for the nonprofit area. So proprietors, independent contractors, self-employed individuals are all now eligible to apply. The businesses that are not eligible to apply this time around would be financial institutions, and those that deal with products that are not legal on a federal level just yet. But the important part for the qualification side is that 25% reduction in sales. You know, so although the business might be qualifying based on its legal structure, entity type, the condition that has to exist where a 25% reduction from comparative quarter to quarter has to exist.
I see.
That's going to be the main one.
I see.
Cool. If I may come in and follow up, the other thing is that you could also be eligible if you also had a PPP-1 loan as well. And also sole practitioners are eligible, self-employed individuals, and independent contractors and others. So you want to make sure that you go to the SBA website to make sure that your type of business is eligible under this new round of loans.
Yep. So, and to add to that, so there are two distinct applications. You know, there's I believe it's 2483 and 2483 SD. So those two applications determine whether you are, or which one you use is determined by whether you got the round 1 funding or this is the first time applying. If you got the money the first time around, you're using the one that finishes in SD. So you can just go to Google, type in PPP 2483 SD. If this is your second time around, if it's your first time, it's just 2483. And make sure that you go into the SBA page. On that application, on that first page, it does give you a couple qualifying questions. And that lets you know whether I qualify for this product or not. So that's something that you guys can do proactively on your own.
I know that.
Can I know this is redundant, but can I just repeat that the trigger to be able to apply for this money is that 25% loss from a quarter in 19 to 20? And maybe Luis, because my Spanish sometimes isn't as strong as yours, can you let our Spanish speaking viewers know that? Because I know people are going to jump the gun without the first test you have to ask yourself, did you have sales that reduced from 19 to 20 in a quarter of 25% or greater? If not, you cannot apply for this product.
Yes, but that is specifically for those that are applying for the second round.
Exactly.
Those that are applying for the first time, which I will encourage people that didn't apply to apply this time, especially self-employed contractors. You know, the name of the program is Payroll or Paycheck Protection Program. But when you don't have anyone on payroll, if you claim profit, you will be able to claim that profit in order to protect your own income. And that is really important for a lot of people that don't have employees with a W-2 form. That only work if you have, for example, if you file your taxes and you use a Schedule C, and on that Schedule C you claim profit, you will be able to claim that profit as your own payroll, and you will be able to qualify for the PPP. Para en español, este programa está diseñado para proteger el payroll o la nómina de los empleados, y es la segunda ronda. Los que ya aplicaron van a poder aplicar, y los que no han aplicado tienen la oportunidad de aplicar. Es muy importante que los que van a aplicar por segunda vez puedan demostrar una reducción de más del 25% en un quarter comparado el 2019 versus el 2020. Y por último, los que no aplicaron, que lo van a hacer por primera vez, si son independientes y no tienen empleados en payroll, lo pueden hacer siempre y cuando hayan declarado utilidad. Si reportaron pérdida, lamentablemente no van a ser poder considerados para esta ronda de PPP. Pero lo más importante, contacten la Cámara, hagan preguntas, llamen al banco que les provee sus servicios y asegúrense de que van a calificar. Es mejor que alguien que de verdad tiene el conocimiento les diga si pueden o no pueden calificar para esta ronda. Es una oportunidad que no podemos dejar pasar.
Gracias. So I think this is a good opportunity to also talk about the loan amount, because Luis mentioned something very important. So if you are a sole proprietorship, you do look at your Schedule C, and the amount of money that you declared as income is what we're going to use as the base number to calculate how much our loan size is going to be. If it's a regular business, we just look at your gross receipts. Your average payroll. If it's a LLC or a partnership. So what we're going to do is you can take that number, your average payroll, or your payroll for the entire year, I should say, and divide it by 12. That number that you get, we're going to multiply either by 2.5 or 3.5, depending on the type of business. So all businesses that do not start with the NICS code of 72 will use 2.5 as a multiplier. So we're going to take your average monthly payroll, multiply it by 2.5. That's the size of your PPP loan. If your NICS code starts with 72, for hospitality, for restaurants, then we're going to use a multiplier of 3.5. That determines how much of a PPP loan you can actually qualify for.
I know there's some banks that have it all automated already. So you fill in an application to tell exactly what it is, So I guess, and let's talk about that. Marco, can are all the banks that started, I heard that some banks are not participating. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And those that are participating, how do you identify them?
Well, there are some, like Ryan said earlier, there's set-asides for minority-owned businesses, women, veteran-owned businesses, and community banks are going to get the first crack. So those are some set-asides that are written in the statute. But if you have a relationship with your bank, I recommend that you contact your banker immediately. And especially if you already apply for a first round loan with that bank to find out if they're going to participate or not. So that's really on a case by case basis. I have not heard, at least any of my clients telling me that their bank are not going to participate. But again, this second round is focused on the smaller businesses. And so I would certainly look to some of the community banks. And if you find out that your bank is not going to participate on this, contact the chamber, contact Carlos and Luis, and we'll give you a referral to a bank that hopefully is in your business community that can help you out.
Awesome.
Yep. So yeah, so I also want to add a little bit to that. So yeah, that's where the value of what Carlos says earlier of making sure that you have that relationship, and Luis mentioned it as well, of making sure that you develop and maintain that relationship with your business team, your accountants, your attorneys, and this is where they will be able to shine. But the financial institution that you're using, the bank that you're using, first has to participate in SBA products. If they do participate in SBA products and they're an SBA lender, then they have the option to participate in these programs. So those are the first two check marks that we look at. If you don't have a relationship with a financial institution just yet, or your bank doesn't participate in SBA products, if you go to the SBA's website and look up Match Lender, they will be able to show you in your backyard who is available near you to be able to participate, in the PPP second round.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
And I don't think we mentioned this, and it's important. You can start today.
Yeah.
The loan application period has started, and it goes through March 31. So don't procrastinate.
Yes.
Start doing your research now. Reach out to Luis, Carlos, the chamber. Reach out to your attorney, your accountant, and start doing your due diligence now. Don't wait, because that was one of the problems that we saw during the first round. People were unsure. They waited, and next thing you know, it was 2 weeks before the deadline, and they're scrambling to get their application in. And remember, this is a first come, first serve. So they will process applications as long as the money is there. Mm-hmm. And remember, these set-asides for the community, low to moderate income communities, and for veterans, women-owned and minority-owned and underprivileged businesses, underserved businesses, those set-asides are going to be consumed fairly quickly. So act now, don't delay.
I can't agree with him more. March 31st is the deadline, or when the funds run out. So if the funds run out before March 31st, exactly, we lost. So the application opened up on Monday for those who did not get a chance to apply for the first round. And then as today's the first day for everybody else. So the floodgates have opened. Yep.
So there's other questions. So there's, I do the business properly, and the ones that have some growth and some revenue, they, let's assume they do properly. But how about the ones that don't have bookkeeping software? they do the bookkeeping through the bank, checking what's come in, what comes out. I mean, what are your advice? Anyone could jump in on this one.
I think Luis, I think it's a good question for you.
Yes. No, I will say that they may need assistance from a bookkeeper or someone who can help them, especially if they already apply, they can use the same figures for 2019, but they will need to figure it out if they have a reduction on income or at least 25%. One recommendation is figure it out if you didn't apply the first round, if your bank will participate and will take new applications, because it's easy for a financial institution to focus on the second round because they already have the data from the first round. And that's the reason I just want to let you know, it's more difficult to open a bank account than to apply for a PPP loan. The documents are similar. And the very interesting fact is that banks want that you have the account open before you apply for the loan. And it's a specific reason. You only have 10 days to disburse the money after the SBA approved the loan. Sometimes, especially during the pandemic times, it's difficult for you to get to the branch in 10 days. right? If something happened and this week you didn't make it, for that reason, financial institutions want you to open the account before you apply. For example, if you go to your current financial institution and they say, we are participating, but we are focused just on people that participate before, it's okay. You just need to find someone who will assist you, right? In some cases, especially online lenders are the ones that they didn't announce that they are not participating, but they didn't announce that they already participated. And people are stressed out because everybody wants to apply as soon as they can. For that reason, my recommendation is call your financial institution and figure it out if you did apply or if you didn't apply, if you can process the applications through them. If no, find a financial institution that is willing to accept your application and open the bank account, because many of the documents for those that are applying for the first time are the same. The business registration, the employer identification number, the IDs from the owners, if they own more than 20% of the company. And, you need to add the payroll or the income taxes or the documents that will support that you lost revenue of 25%. The main message today is please find out who can help you and don't hesitate to apply, because it's really important that we take advantage of this opportunity to keep our business open.
If I can interject here real quick as the lawyer here, it's really important that businesses that apply for these loans or any loan maintain their records, okay? Because this second round of PPP loans have certain record retention provisions depending on the amount of loan you have. And if you have a loan, if you're one of those companies that are gonna have a loan for over $2 million, you may have to save your documents for 6 years because they may audit you. But most of the smaller loans even require the borrower to maintain employee records, for example, for 3 years, and proof of, employment records for 4 years, and proof of business expenses incurred for 3. So please, as a matter of practice, save your documentation because you may be asked to, you may be audited, and the SBA may ask you questions about your loan in the future, especially during the forgiveness period.
Yeah, so what it means is don't throw anything away, document everything, and I would say I'm notorious when it comes to that. So digitize everything. Don't put it in just paperwork. Don't put it in a cabinet. Scan it, save it, put it in a Dropbox, Google Drive, and back it up, right? Yep. But it kind of takes it. Let's go back to a little bit of the basics. Okay. Documentation around initial to get the PPP. I think that's a big thing. You want to cover that?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I wanted to ask. So I love that point was brought up about documentation. Luis, I'll ask you the question. You have a banking background. If I am a micro business, a local barbershop, or I am a home-based business, and I don't have, unfortunately, the record keeping that I should have, I don't have QuickBooks installed, what documents are you accepting that can prove my economic injury?
In some cases, the sales taxes, the report that you submit to the state, that will help you to provide that you have a reduction on your income, okay, right? And we will prefer to have income taxes or profit and loss documents that are valid for any government agency, right? But as we say, each case is different. We want to encourage people to apply and to make sure that they qualify or they don't qualify, because we don't want to hear that after, on April 1st, someone will call and say, hey, I missed the deadline. No, it's clear that we have a deadline, and it's March 31st or until the money lasts, right? It's important for them to figure it out right now. As I say, I will encourage people to have the documents, the basic documents that are the same as you need to open a bank account, plus the payroll if you have payroll, or the income tax if you don't have any other source. Because we are asking for 2019, the income tax supposed to be filed already, especially if you already applied.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Another question. Now, I know they're putting these, loan brackets, I guess you call it. Anything that's 100 to 50,000 and under, does these documentation all apply to the, across the board? Whether you're getting a 2 million or 150,000 or 10,000, you have to have the same documentation.
Yeah, so the documentation that's being modified as the most recent adjustment since last week's episode is that the documentation will be asked of everybody, but it won't be required at the submission for the forgiveness unless the loan is larger than 150,000. As an automatic part of the application packaging, set of documents. If the loan is less than 150, the SBA is asking, have it ready in case the bank requires it for an additional audit. Just like, the point that was brought up a little while ago, we need to make sure that record keeping is paramount. That there's a lot of value in making sure that you can prove whatever the information that I'm saying actually is actual.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Is mandatory that you file for the forgiveness portion before you apply for the next round or no?
Oh, that's a good question. So
I've been told no, but I've been told you do not have to.
Yeah.
No, but it's highly recommended. I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to sleep well at night, I will highly encourage people to process the forgiveness as soon as they can. But nobody will force you to process the forgiveness in order for you to apply for the second round.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now, talking about that forgiveness, it does get modified for the second time around. So there's this number being floated around, 8 to 24 weeks, and a lot of people don't really understand what that means. So what that means is that once I get the loan, I have between 8 to 24 weeks to elect when my forgiveness period is. So the money that you get from the PPP, you're free to use it at your discretion. However, if you want to be considered for forgiveness, you have to be able to say that the 40% rule, which I don't think we covered yet, 40% of the proceeds is the maximum that you're allowed to use for non-payroll related expenses. 60% has to be directly for payroll in order for that portion of the PPP proceeds that you're getting, that you're applying for forgiveness consideration. So that's actually very important to note.
Ryan, what's
Yes.
the spend period? I know it changed in round one. What is it for round two? When do you have to, what's the period of time? Is it 8 weeks?
Well, no, 8 to 24 weeks. So
If you're using it, for argument's sake, 100% payroll, you have 24 weeks to spend.
Correct. 24 weeks would be the maximum. So as the business leader of your enterprise, you can now plan accordingly, knowing that the maximum amount of money that's for non-payroll expenses is 40%. I have to be able to stretch out that money so that it's used up accordingly, and I know how to use my time, my resources to contribute to my bottom line. So that's a good point.
I want to add something. The first round, nobody was prepared, and that make everything difficult. I think that at this time, we are familiar with the process, we are familiar with the terminology, we are familiar with many other things. I think that this time around will be easier for people to apply for the second time, and financial institutions will have better, more friendly platforms that will allow the customer to know where the application stands. Because part of the problem that I described at the beginning is that you process the application and nobody answer and nobody tell you. No, this time around, most of the applications that have been used will tell you, you complete the application, the document have been submitted, have been approved by the SBA and ready for disbursement. That's really important because most of the calls that we received was for moral support. Like, hey, Luis, Carlos, I don't know what happened. Nobody's answering. Those are the type of things that we are happy to answer the calls and we are here to help. But if we are able to use better platforms, we will be able to have a better outcome and release a little bit of stress.
I have a question, and anyone can answer this one. How about the people that have multiple businesses? Do they apply for PPP for each of the business? Or is it all into one? How does that work? And maybe, people that has partnerships with other people, does that get a little bit more complex? It sounds complex.
Yeah. So the basic answer is yes. If you have multiple businesses, you can apply for different PPP loans as long as you have true separate business. So if I have one LLC with 3 or 4 different branches, that's not the case. That won't apply. I need to have articles of formation or articles of incorporation for each business that I have, and then that way you can apply for individual PPP loans.
Gotcha. Understand.
Yeah, let me also add that the affiliation regulation for the first draw PPP loans will apply for this round again. So please, if you do have affiliated entities, make sure you take a look at that as well. But there are also some carve-outs for businesses that are in the food and accommodation industry. The NIC code 72. Also, there's some special rules there, so take a look at that as well.
Yeah, that was a major, that was a major sticking point last time around, was that affiliation rule. Marco, if you can you explain what affiliation actually means?
Well, basically, you have entities that are affiliated in different ways. There could be partnerships, so you could have an LLC that's a partner with an S Corp, or you could have 2 LLCs that are partners in another business. You could have a venture capital group. You could have a bunch of different type of businesses that have affiliations. You could have a parent corporation with a subsidiary, and even businesses that are small and mid cap may have these type of business relationships that are somewhat intertwined. And so that's why it's important that if you do have that type of business relationship with other entities, that you look at the PPP SBA rules, the affiliation rules. They're very easy to find. Go to the SBA website and do a search for PPP affiliation rules, and they should pop up. And of course, if you have any other specific questions regarding that you can't find the answer to, you can reach out to the chamber or my website and send me an email, and I'll try to get the answer to you.
That's awesome.
One question that will be asked this time around is, if you're a franchise, they will ask you that you need to type the franchise number based on the SBA code. It's really important because I remember, like, we didn't sleep a couple of nights trying to figure it out if a franchise can apply or no, because, in that case, they will be able to apply, but they just need to have that information available when they type the application.
How about business that right now, the pandemic forced everyone to work from home, and that might get a little bit confusing on expenses. Home rent. Does those utilities get applied to the PP? Does it get split? How does that part work?
Yeah, that's a great question. If you are a home-based business, you absolutely have the right to apply for the PPP application. The expenses that you're allowed to declare, I'm still a little bit unsure of on my side. I don't know if Marco, if Luis, you guys have any insight on to which expenses from a home-based business you can actually declare as forgivable.
Yeah, I think that's going to require some research, and I think some guidance from the SBA on the second round, because it expands the covered expenses that one can avail of in terms of that did not exist under the first round. So as soon as we get some more guidance from the SBA on that, we'll make sure to put that on the chamber website. Certainly, they have to be bona fide, so I think things like insurance, if you have an insurance policy for yourself, if you have other employees that are working remotely from home and you make a contribution to their insurance, I would think that would be a covered expense, things of that nature. So you got to look at the interim final rule that the SBA published for those covered expenses and see what guidance come out. I have not seen an FAQ yet from the SBA on those covered expenses, the expansion, but I'm willing to bet that that's going to be published very soon.
Well, the easy answer is don't worry about the expenses yet. You just need to focus on the income loss, right? And you will have a few weeks to figure it out, the expenses.
Gotcha.
I know that talking with many small business owners, they are not able to digest like a lot of things at once, but for the application, you just need to prove that your income was reduced, your business income was reduced, right? For the forgiveness portion, we will figure it out, and Marco will have enough time to read all those like print letters, legal terminology.
I agree 100%. I do want to add something to this. So business expenses that are covered with the proceeds of the loan this time around, they are tax deductible. So that's something that's new to the table as well. So again, more reason to talk to you.
That was a big issue the first time around.
Yes.
Because the IRS issued that decision that overrode the SBA guidance.
Yep.
So that is burned into the statute itself, and it's not giving the IRS any discretion there. So that will be deductible.
Yes.
So I think we're almost out of time over here. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that needs to be covered?
Well, I would repeat that if folks don't have a banking relationship, reach out to either chamber, and we have banks calling us to assist. So if you do not have an existing relationship, which we would advise you to try to have, but it's already, the application's out today and tomorrow, just give us a buzz and we'll try to connect you with a bank that is open-minded and looking to service folks that do not have current banking relationships with that bank.
I actually do want to add something real quickly. I'm sorry, Luis.
Go ahead, Luis.
Yes, no, we encourage people to call us even if they're not members yet. But the most important is that they really use the information. We are here to support you regardless your ethnicity, regardless your income, your type of business. As Ryan said, need to be a legal business. But we are here to support you and guide you. If we don't have the answer, we will figure it out. Who has the answer in order for you to take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, and Luis has been, I've known Luis for years, and he's been extremely pivotal for a lot of businesses that I've worked with, so he's really dramatically helped businesses, turn around, and exactly what he says. Sometimes he doesn't know the answer, but he will find the answer, so it's great. I do want to add something real quickly. Another element that's new to this is if the EIDL is now being reopened as well for the grant component. And if you do receive a grant from the EIDL program, it will not be deducted from your PPP amount that you're being, applying for, that you would qualify for. The first time around, whatever you were going to get from PPP would have included a deduction from what you got from EIDL. This time around, that does not apply. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. And there are other programs besides the PPP. We have the EIDL. There's also a new one for shuttered venue operators, which is a large grant. It's a very large grant. I believe up to $10 million per venue operator, as long as they can provide information. But you cannot get that grant if you're getting the PPP as well. So that one's important to know. And one of my favorite features of SBA loans in general is that there's a component where the SBA will make your payments of the principal and interest for a certain amount of time. That feature is always there. It's one of the features that I feel is not getting enough attention in the crisis in 2020, 2021. However, what's new this time around is that the amount of time that's covered for them to make that payment on your behalf has been expanded. So it used to be up to 6 months. I believe now it's actually, they added 3 more months to it. But I'll look into the data for you and I'll get back to you guys.
Well, I think that's really it, all right? Anything else you guys want to add?
No, that we are here to support, and we are a network of people that we will find the resources that are available to communicate. Even if you don't qualify for a PPP loan, we will figure it out like other programs from the SBA, from the EDA, from the county, from any other resource that will help your business to get through this process.
Great. Well, yeah, go
I
ahead,
have
Ryan.
one last one. I'm sorry.
We could keep going. It's okay.
I can talk for as long as you guys are willing to listen to me. I'll talk. All right. So there's one last one that I want to make sure that you guys reach out to your accountants, your tax attorneys, and talk about the business credit. It's called the Employer Retention Credit Program. It's a powerful one. That one was increased from 50% to 70%. And what that just simply means is the amount of money that you're allowed to take as a credit when you apply for your, when you file your taxes per employee that you have has been increased, which again, it helps the business's operating capital and bottom line. So make sure, you reach out to your accountant and ask them, hey, what is it? What is this? And how does this help me? Does it impact me at all?
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Carlos, Luis, Marco. Very helpful. To the audience out there, we're trying to do this on a bi-weekly thing at the moment for Biz Talk for now. It's a lot of work to put shows together and bring partners on board. We love the Statewide Hispanic Chamber. Make sure you're becoming a member with them. Make sure you become a member with us as well, 2 members, and because we're all family over here. But again, we're here to help. We're here to help any way we can, because as we saw from the pandemic, a business that's not related to each other also affects you too, because they are a business for your customer of a customer as well. And the idea is that the more we could create success, then the more successful we'll be as business owners as well. So with that, stay tuned. Check out the websites for all updated information on the njsbdc.org.com. shccnj.org that you see on the website. And uspaacc-NE.com. So with that, thank you everybody. Thank you everybody again, and take care.